Recruiting is still going fast and furious. Meanwhile, does Kalen DeBoer have a new recruiting assistant with a very familiar name?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, HSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. I'll talk about Monarch Money in just a bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks to everybody for making us your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. I want to thank Brian from Missouri, who called me and gave me some ideas and options for my Missouri trip that Alabama is going to face off in Columbia. And he told me about a place called Herman, Missouri. So I'm looking forward to looking into that. And then want to thank the Bammer, whose name escapes me, that came by and shook my hand while we were removing the Forsyth Park fountain in Savannah and said, listens to the show. Super dude. And he's so super, I don't even need to know his name. That's how super he is. But meanwhile, let's talk a little recruiting. First of all, I'm going to start off with some bad news just to get out of the way. We didn't mention it the other day. Titan Davis committed to Michigan. It's a loss. I would have loved to have had him in this class.
Oh, yeah.
But and there's some people who just were crestfallen. I don't get to use that word enough. We're crestfallen that he committed to Michigan. But, you're going to lose some of those battles.
Crestfallen sounds like your teeth fell out.
It does. And my grandfather, being a dentist, who never gave me Novocaine, by the way, when I was a little boy. Oh, God. You talk about dentophobia. I got it. But anyway, it's a bad thing. I would have loved to have had him in this class. There's no doubt. It's a loss. I don't want to paint with a brush like, oh, we didn't need him anyway. I'd love to flip him if we could, but that ain't happening. So let's move on. Bigger and better, onward and upward. And let's talk about some of the good things that are coming this way. First of all, Mac Suter or Mac Suter. You confirmed is Suter?
I haven't confirmed, but I'm like now really sure. I'm close to confirming.
You're sure because you think it?
Combination of two or three facts I've been made aware of.
Right. So Mac Suter and then Crowell, EJ Crowell. We got confirmation on that pronunciation. EJ Crowell, correct?
Well, what we got confirmation on is that's how Isaiah Crowell says his name. I think there's a lot of confusion out there that those two are related, but they're not.
They're not related. I know that.
Related, but there's.
I'm just saying.
I know Isaiah Crowell says it Crowell, and I don't know. I mean, let's find out for sure by Friday. How about this? I know this sounds crazy. I'll ask somebody in Jackson.
How about this?
That knows the kid.
How about this? Tomorrow,
I know people that know the kid.
The announcement for Crowell is 5 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. We will obviously try to go live after that for an emergency podcast. And then Mac Suter is committing at 8 p.m. Central. For some reason, he hates my being able to go to bed at a regular hour. So we may do an emergency podcast after that one too. We don't know. We're crazy. We're unpredictable. So,
we're so crazy we go to bed at 8? Isn't that the opposite of crazy? Maybe that's the opposite of crazy to the point it's pretty crazy.
Let me tell you what, I went to bed last night and I loved at 8 and I loved every bit of it.
I've been an 8 o'clock go to bedder in the past, and those have been great night. I'm more of a 9 to even 9:30, but I like going to bed early because you get up crazy early.
I mean, I was up at 4:50 this morning, so
I get up a little early.
Well, okay, so those two guys commit tomorrow evening. I wish they committed during the day. It would have been better for everybody, but we will take them, and they've both been crystal balled to Alabama. Any reason at all to have any pessimism, Jimmy?
About Croll and Suter?
Yes.
No. I think there's every reason to be optimistic, actually, about those two. I think Steve Wiltfong has bombed them both. Tim Watts and Andrew Bone have both RPM'd him. The batting average when all three are on the same page. I mean, we're just master of the obvious here, but when those three are on the same page, I'm just saying, yeah, we think that's happening, but you can look to them who do have an industry-wide reputation with the great batting average to know. So yeah, there's every reason to be super optimistic here. We have been pretty consistent, me and Luke, on EJ Croll since way back. And let's be honest, those that listen to the show every day know this kid really well, because we've been talking about him since he's been in the 9th grade. He's technically going into the 11th grade this fall. He's reclassified, so you have to call him a senior. But we've been talking about Crowell since the 9th grade. I mean, that's how big a deal he is. And he's lived up to it. Now let's see if he lives up to it in college. He's about to have a monstrous junior / senior season at Jackson. They're a phenomenal football team. I watched a team huddle the other day. I watched old Jackson's team. I counted up 13 guys that should be playing college football, which is a remarkable number for a 4A school, that they have minimum 13 college football players playing offense and defense on that team this fall. That's nuts. Especially when you include how impactful some of the positions are, like quarterback, running back, multiple receivers, multiple players on defense, even some young guys. I had somebody tell me the other day they actually have some really good 9th and 10th graders that haven't even played yet. But anyway, Crowell's going to be, boy, for Alabama fans who are really into recruiting rankings, Thursday evening is your time to watch the tote board. I mean, it's a steroid shot to get a top 100 player. How about 2 top 100 players that could very conceivably commit to Alabama on Thursday night? Let's give the kids some drama and now allow them to make an impactful announcement. Let's remember this. I know we're optimistic. I know we're telling y'all to be optimistic. We told you about Steve Wiltfong saying where they're going, and Tim Watts and Andrew Bone predicting it as well. So every reason to be optimistic. But let's remember this. Alabama's beating Texas if they do for EJ Croll. Alabama's beating Ohio State if they do for Max Suter. These aren't easy things to do, just like it's not easy to beat Alabama for a kid that they want. Michigan did that the other day with Titan Davis. They beat Alabama for a high priority recruit for Alabama, and then that doesn't happen all the time. Shout out to them for pulling that off. Well, Thursday night's Alabama's time to potentially pull it off, beating Texas for a high value running back and beating Ohio State for a tight end who's man, you can't help but be impressed watching his tape, Luke, because with Max Suter, here's a guy who is a very good prospect as a pass receiver. If you told me he's going to be an H, I would watch the pass receiving and go, wow, he's going to be a great H. But you say, no, he's going to be an inline line of scrimmage tight end. He's a he's a physical guy. Then you watch the tape and just watch all the physical stuff. You're like, wow, he's a good Y. Now this kid can do it all. I can't stress enough how rare that is to find a guy who's a really good prospect at both. Most even power 4 tight ends tend to sort of excel at one or the other. Pretty rare to find both. That's what the NFL looks for. And, those are the best tight ends in the world.
Meanwhile, Jimmy Tank Jones, his visit from Alabama, rave reviews. He basically said what we already knew, that he grew up an Alabama fan, that this did absolutely nothing but help Alabama. There were some pictures with guys like Justin Hill and all those that it really makes you feel like, hey, Alabama's in a pretty good spot for Tank Jones right now.
Yeah. It's interesting to me position-wise. Alabama, Christian Robinson's recruiting him. That's the Wolf. Justin Hill was his official visit host. That's a Wolf. And Tank Jones, an outside pass rusher right now. But he's a kid who's weighing, I think, right now in the 240, 245 range right now. In my experience, kids that are already 240, 245 and haven't even begun their senior year of high school, he's going to be a very large guy. So could be a guy that grows into a bandit. That's what I would believe. That's what I predict. But today, if the kid joins Alabama's football team today, he's playing Wolf with C-Rob's group. Doesn't really matter in terms of, short term versus long term. I mean, really what you're trying to do is develop him into the best football player possible, and wherever he ends up growing, that's where he ends up growing. But you just don't see too many 265-pound Wolves, and that sounds more like a bandit to me. But regardless, Tank Jones is a 5-star type prospect at either spot, and Alabama just would love to bring him in. Boy, you're beating some big dogs for him. I don't know, coincidence or not, but some of the quote big spenders in the NIL era are finalists for Tank Jones, the Oregons, the
Texas.
Texas A&Ms. So I know he's from Mobile. Grew up an Alabama fan. These kids make business decisions because you and I would too. That's the smart way to approach this. You make a decision as a business. No one that's the major league, the NBA draft is tonight. If you grew up a Pelicans fan and you're drafted by the Lakers, guess what? Now you're a Lakers fan. It's a business at this level.
No doubt about it. New sponsor alert here, and very happy to have them on board. That is Rugiet. Guys, you probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. Look, head to rugiet.com/lockedoncollege. That's RUGIET. Rugiet.com/lockedoncollege. You could use code lockedoncollege to get 15% off. Again, RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege. Use promo code lockedoncollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit Rugiet website for full safety information ASAP. Rugiet Ready. So, Jimmy, a couple of things I want to get into. Kalen DeBoer's new recruiting assistant here for a second, who's a very familiar face. But I did want to say this.
The guy from Game Day?
Yeah, the guy from Game Day. Can you believe it? I'm going to throw this in, and I'm not here to poke fun or say, Auburn is falling into the abyss. But they've lost a couple of commits lately. And Auburn's in the 80s when it comes to recruiting rankings for 24/7, in the 60s, I think, for the On3 composite, which I like to use, the On3 composite. So it's a little better. But they got a commitment yesterday from a very huge guy and possibly the number one prospect out of New Zealand. He is 6'7", 370.
Was there an Old Zealand?
Whoa. That's like Montgomery Burns did that one time. They were like, yeah, sir, we're opening a new plant in New Zealand. He goes, whoa. There's a New Mexico. So anyway, look, I know international recruiting. Alabama's been doing it. Steve
Mboumwa.
I did it on my own. I like it. Mboumwa is an international type guy. Now, he did spend a year at junior college. This kid that's just committed to Auburn has never actually played American football. Now, he's played kind of American football with some NFL program thing, but he's also the first kid ever from this program to commit to an American college, is what I think I read. And they were like, yeah, he doesn't really know the game very well, but he's got a lot of the pieces. Okay, maybe so. But I'll say this again, and we alluded to it yesterday, that Hugh Freeze has spent a lot of time on the golf course. I don't know if that has anything to do with their recruiting. I know this. It ain't a good look. Now, you can paint it any way.
When you're not recruiting well and those facts come out, I mean,
yeah.
I'm not making fun. This isn't Locked on Auburn. But, I mean, I get when you're not recruiting well and that comes out, that it's a terrible look. And it may be, quote, unrelated. And who's to say coaches should take time off during the summer? As a matter of fact, Alabama's coaches are about to take significant time off because it's really the only time of the year you can. Because August is camp, September through January is a season, February and March are getting ready for late signing day and spring practice. spring practices March and April. May, you go on the road recruiting. June is camps and official visits. Then there's July. July is the off month for college football coaches. But Hugh's been playing a lot of golf in May and June per official records, unless someone is playing golf rounds for him and inscribing his rounds into the GIN system. I know a lot of people listening have no idea what that is, but it's a national golf database that helps people track their handicap. You enter it into the GIN system, and GIN gives you your official handicap, which you need an official handicap if you want to enter sanctioned type events.
As I told some Auburn friends of mine last night on the Sports Blitz program, that I can tell you this. I mean, I don't know how they feel about it, and I'm not here to just giggle and poke fun because, Auburn will probably end. I said this. They said, well, Auburn still got a chance to end up in the top, 8 to 10 range. I said, mathematically, no. Now, if you believe they're going to flip everybody, okay. But I don't believe that. I've also made it known that I don't think flips will be as prevalent this year, given the new ground rules. And I think that mathematically it's going to be very difficult. I think Auburn will end up in the top 20. I do. And so, therefore, that's not, poke fun at numbers. But I'll say this. If Kalen DeBoer were out there playing golf as much as Hugh Freeze, and Alabama's recruiting were in the 60s to 80s range, I can tell you right now, I'd be losing my mind, and I think every Alabama fan everywhere would be losing their mind.
It will be a matter of discussion here on this show
Daily.
a lot, and social media, Bama social media would be on en fuego, and not in a good way. So, yeah, I get all that, and hey, I do think I don't know anything about the New Zealand kid, nothing about him. The only thing I will say, not defending any of it, but what I will say is I think one thing is overplayed a little bit, and that's that he hadn't played football before. Because I think we're about to talk to Nick. We're about to talk about Nick Saban. I think if you ask Nick Saban right now, Nick, highly athletic kid, highly athletic, 6'3", 235, runs a true 4.4, bench presses 400 pounds. Do you want him? Nick's going to say yes. He doesn't care that the kid's never played. I mean, this is a size and speed. No, I fully believe that.
So, okay, and I hear you. And we've been told that we agree too much. I will 100% push back on this. That I think Nick, you'd say, "Hey Nick, I got a prospect for you. 6'7", 370, super, very athletic. What do you think?" "Oh yeah, cool." He's never played American football before.
Well, we don't know. Problem. And see, and what the difference between what I described and what's going on with the New Zealand kids, I don't know what kind of athleticism he's got. I'm citing 40 times with my linebacker. I'm citing 40 times shuttle times. He bench presses 400 pounds. I know nothing about the New Zealand kid. The fact that he's 6'7", 370, that's intriguing. That's going to intrigue Nick Saban. He liked him huge, but it's not any indication of athleticism at all. So I don't know anything about that specific kid. I'm just saying that never playing football before wouldn't bar me from taking a kid if he had verified measurables that indicate he's a great player. For no different than a 1A kid in Alabama plays 1A football and is good, but I'm not taking him unless I know he's got verified measurables.
Okay, fair. But I think you could also equate it to what we've been saying about Javari Barnett or Kelly that just flipped from Rutgers. That, hey, you and I are on board with these cats because we also believe we're getting Crowell, and we also believe we're getting Edwards. Mm-hmm. But if we weren't getting Crowell and Edwards, we're sort of like, okay, it's a little bit of a reach. Now, and while Auburn is losing commits to Florida State and to Georgia, they get a guy that is completely unranked from another country and he's never played American football. I think there would be a lot of room for concern there. I mean, that's what I think. So,
I agree. I think this is a bad time to take that kid. I mean, you
could have had him anytime.
It's controversial to take him, period. And during a period of recruiting controversy, I agree. That sort of adds fuel to the fire, frankly. I mean, I agree with that. Yeah, they got a bit of a mess going on. While their rival, Alabama, is, to quote Luke Robinson, kicking chicken. That's a Luke thing.
That is kicking chicken. That is my thing. There was a place, I think, in Eclectic, Alabama called Kicking Chicken. It had the best chicken fingers. God, it was good. All right. So,
see, I'm trying that sight unseen, just like the football player that I haven't played. You give me Kicking Chicken in Eclectic, Alabama, I'm trying it.
Well, if this guy's name was I'm a badass offensive lineman, Smith, then I think that would be great. All right. Well, we have not talked about the one thing I wanted to talk about, and that's Nick Saban has been assisting Kalen DeBoer with recruiting. And there probably are some takes out there. I know from my rivals, the takes are there like, oh, Kalen DeBoer can't do it on his own. I don't think that's the case. I think when you've got the greatest to ever do it that's still hanging around, why wouldn't you make use of him? And I love it because it makes me feel like Nick Saban loves Alabama even more. And look, here's the other thing. Initially, when I first started reading the story about Tank Jones by Andrew Bone, and it mentioned that, Tank spent a lot of time with Sabin and DeBoer had to ease out a little early. I was like, why would he do that? And then I come to find out he's gone to the funeral for Keelan Russell's sister. And I'm like, oh, okay, I understand it all the way around now. And the other thing is, if you are having any kind of reservations about Kalen DeBoer and like, well, he hadn't been here long enough, he's from South Dakota, he doesn't know the South, not sure he blah, 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 you will take Nick Saban's word for it if you're Tank Jones. And if Nick Saban goes, hey, this dude's a dude, and he's going to get you ready, then I feel like that helps a lot. So I am very pro Nick Saban assisting with our recruiting.
I just don't think, I think context, and you kind of mentioned some of it with Kalen DeBoer having to be away for the Keelan Russell's family funeral. Look, a couple of things here for people to keep in mind. Nick Saban's been retired since January of 2024. Alabama has had about 8 or 9 or 10 official visit Saturdays since then. This is the first time he's ever been there. This is number one. This is the only time it's happened on one Saturday of official visit season in 2 years now. So it's not like he's constantly doing this. There's never been a report anywhere of him making phone calls to any of these kids. It's just one Saturday ever in 2 years. And it happens to be the Saturday that Kalen DeBoer had to be away for a little while to attend an important funeral for his quarterback. So add those things together, and it's being overblown by rivals. Oh, he's helping Alabama recruiting. Notice how no one ever complains when Peyton Manning talks to a kid about going to Tennessee, but it seems to be a problem if Nick Saban tells a kid, hey, Alabama worked out for me. I don't understand that dichotomy. One other thing, Sabin had to be they're breaking ground on the $120 million Sabin Center in Tuscaloosa, and there was a Knicks Kids function that Terry Sabin had to be there for. So the Sabins had to be there anyway this weekend for their business and charitable purposes. DeBoer was going to be away, and this is the first Saturday it's ever happened. So it's being overblown by the rivals. But as Luke said, it's perfectly legal and it's perfectly helpful. I mean, there's no question it's helpful. The looks on those kids' faces as they met Nick Saban, some for the first time. Tank had been offered by Nick, but other players were meeting Nick Saban for the first time. By the way, the meetings with Saban weren't even in the football building. They were in Saban's office that's in the stadium. They weren't at the football building where all the rest of the visit stuff goes on. It's not like he moved into DeBoer's office for the weekend. Nick has his own office at the football stadium, and that's where those visits happen.
And by the way, all Tank Jones has practically ever known in his life is Nick Saban's Alabama.
That's right.
And if he grew up an Alabama fan, why not let him meet what is essentially equates to an idol? Time to talk a little Monarch Money. Love Monarch Money. You will too. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, bro, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. What was one surprising thing that I noticed when I started tracking my spending with Monarch is that I eat out way too much. And so I've cut down on that. Like last night, if it hadn't been for Monarch Money, I would have gone out to eat again last night. And I was like, nah, I need to scale back. And so I just found some stuff around the house and pulled a Paula Deen and made it myself. And it was wonderful. So take control of your finances.
You just got back from Savannah.
I did just get back from Savannah. That's why I thought of that.
Just a Paula
Take
name.
control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege with monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first order. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. You can beat an egg. You can beat a bush. You can't beat that deal right there.
I think Monarch
Jim-
Money would tell me I need to eat out more. You're not eating out enough. That would be the text message.
You're not spending enough money. I think that would be a budgeting app that my wife would create. Anyway, so we're going to, you know, what I love about your roster countdown is we can catch up on it at any time. And I love the fact that we're going to have to catch up on it soon because recruiting news has been coming fast and furious. But go ahead and tell us your next player on your roster countdown.
Number 37, I guess it was Tuesday, specifically was 37 days until the start of fall camp. And Edric Hill's 37. We are now officially to the part of the countdown where every player that we're going to talk about from henceforward, and frankly, a lot of the players we've already talked about over the last week to 10 days fit this, but these are players you're going to see every week. These are players that will help determine whether Alabama wins or loses games in the fall. That's pretty significant. Players that will help determine whether Alabama wins or loses football games. And Edric Hill's one of those guys this year. I know he's new to that level of role, but Edric Hill could be the first interior tackle off the bench. We project Tim Keenan to be the starting nose guard, James Smith to be the starting defensive tackle. First guy off the bench could be Jeremiah Beeman, could be Steve Mbamwa, could be Kelby Collins, who we haven't got to quite yet on the countdown, because Kelby spent almost the entirety of the spring inside, not outside, as previously thought. But it might be Edric Hill, who's been impressive since the day he showed up from Missouri. He redshirted initially, played last year as a redshirt freshman. This is now his year 3. We say this all the time for developing players. Defensive line's a developmental spot. Year 3 is big. Year 3 is when most kids that are going to be good sort of make a statement in year 3. Maybe they either already have or they will make a statement in year 3. It's more rare for a kid to become a significant player in year 4 or year 5. But year 3 is critical, and I think this is the year that Edric Hill sort of announces himself as a significant member of the defensive line rotation. And here's a little negative to him. Not the biggest kid. Not the biggest kid. He's probably around 280, which is almost small for the position. Great quickness, though. Very strong, decent pass rusher, probably better against the run. Overall, what he really brings to the position, though, Luke, is he's very athletic. For a 280-pound kid, this kid is athletic. And if we're going to tie it all into recruiting, there's some J.J. Finch here, I think, and Edric Hill. Or I should say that J.J. Finch is a take because he reminds me of Edric Hill, who's been good. We just hadn't seen a lot of him yet, but he's been good behind the scenes. The coaches have been very high on him from the start. They knew he would be good. They just also knew at his size, you're probably talking about year 3, and here we are.
I don't remember his flipping. He just committed to Bama, right? He was never actually committed to Missouri.
I don't believe he was committed to Missouri, but that was definitely who Alabama had to beat to get him. And
yeah,
talk about an under the radar team defensively. If you want to shock yourself, look at total defense in the SEC over the last 5 years and see where Missouri ranks, similar to Alabama and Georgia. I'm not kidding. I mean, Missouri has been consistently good on defense, and they're consistently good up front. But anyway, so when you get a defensive lineman that Missouri wants, probably a pretty decent player, and Edric Hill looks like he's going to be that way. We want to talk about the next guy, which is kind of quick.
Go ahead.
36, Brody Dalton. Brody Dalton's going to be, again, a guy we see every week. This is the transfer from Troy, who's from Fife, who started out at UAB, played some at UAB, went to Troy, became a significant player at Troy, now going to Alabama in year 5. A lot of college football experience. Why did Alabama bring him in? Here's the name I'm invoking here, Robbie Oots. I mean, I think Robbie was more valuable than I think most realize. Was he a great player? Of course not. But you can't be successful without role players. Ask the Oklahoma City Thunder about what they put around SGA. Ask the Pacers what they put around Halliburton. That's why they couldn't win at the end, because they just had nothing but the role players. But you've got to have role players to win. You got to have role players to win big. And Robbie Oost was a classic glue guy. That's why the Seahawks took him. Brody Dalton is that guy. Is he going to play a ton of snaps? Probably not. But he's going to play situationally and help Alabama with a physical presence. He's not only a good blocker, he brings that physical mentality, which can be contagious. And basically, I see Brody Dalton in last year's Robbie Oots role. We all know how much we saw Robbie a year ago. I think you'll see Brody Dalton about that much. The primary tight ends will be Danny Lewis and Josh Cuevas. But you ain't getting away with just playing two tight ends. You definitely need one to bring off the bench to be physical. That's this guy. That's why they bought him in. I love the fact that he's in state. I know Luke loves that too. Just means a little more with those guys. Plus, we kind of follow him in recruiting. Luke probably inadvertently somehow saw this guy at the AHSAA, championship games because Fife sort of lives there. That's the off-season home of Fife football is the state championship game. So very excited to have Brody Dalton, a winner, in-state kid, bring some physicality, and that's why we have him here at 36 as we are today, as we record this. 5 weeks and 1 day from the start of fall camp.
I can tell you this: Fife dudes are the dudes you'd least like to fight.
Yeah,
that's now really quickly because we love to give shout outs to walk-ons. We have a new walk-on snapper. Tell us about him quickly.
Well, I don't know much about a walk-on snapper. I'll be the first to tell you I don't know anything about this guy. I think the most significant thing about here is that he is a walk-on, because for a long time we've talked about how, hey, as a result of the house settlement, walk-ons are going the way of the dinosaur. Ends up in the final version of the house settlement due to partly the judge's insistence. Walk-ons are not going away. Quickly, the new rule will be, because it's different than what we forecast. It's different. The new rule is there's 105 players. You can't have more than 105, period. You can give 105 scholarships. It's up to the school. The school can give 30 scholarships if they want. The judge, there's no ruling about the number of scholarships you have to give. You just can't give more than 105. So it does appear that for now, schools will have some walk-ons that fill out that roster. The thing to watch is you just can't have more than 105 players. But you can continue, if you choose, to do what Alabama's been doing, basically 85 scholarship players and 20 walk-ons. You could do that if you choose. Why would you do that? Cost savings. And cost savings, very important post-house settlement. So to me, the big news isn't, hey, there's a walk-on snapper coming and how he is and how good he is. I'm sure he's good at what he does. But the big news to me is, hey, here's a walk-on. We thought walk-ons might be going the way of the dinosaur. Nope. They're here for now. And this is the latest one. He's going to be here for 2026. So he's got a senior year to play. The snapper this fall will be David Byrd. Who knows? This guy's probably the heir apparent to David Byrd.
That's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow, probably with several shows. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.